Welcome to Rob and Tony's Cinematic Adventure. I'm Rob Wilson.
And I am Tony the Quano.
So, Tony, today we're going to be talking about the movie that inspired the greatest video game ever made, Contra, for the NES. It is also the movie that should have starred Chris Hansen. The movie we're doing is Predator.
Yes.
That Arnold Schwarzenegger classic with Carl Weathers and Jesse Ventura and Bill Duke.
Shane Black.
Richard Chavez. R.G. Armstrong.
Sonny Lanham.
And Elpidia Carrillo.
It's a small cast.
Yes.
Plus several dozen extras that get blown up.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's actually a really interesting movie because, well, I'm glad you brought up Contra because they put obviously the video game, maybe it's just because it's the video game like cover, like kind of mimics kind of the poster.
Yeah.
But you look at the poster, like oh yeah, it kind of looks like you just slapped Arnold onto some 8-bit video game.
I mean, that's what it was. That game, it was the characters were modeled after Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone.
So, but this movie's fantastic. And it's directed by John McTiernan, who directed another action favorite of ours, Die Hard. Yes,
which we're going to be doing later on in the year.
And also Die Hard The Vengeance, right? The Hunt for Red October, Last Action Hero. And in some ways, he's kind of an underrated director. Like, he knows how to film an action sequence, but there's a lot of subtext to his movies.
Yeah.
And watching this again, this is a very subversive movie, and it's actually quite brilliant at what it does.
Yep.
And it's funny, like, you could kind of call it a fantastic action movie, one of the best action movies ever made, but it's actually a lot more than that because it's also like a slasher movie.
Yeah.
And a sci-fi movie.
Yep.
Right? You think it's going to be
a
like
war
Commando.
Movie.
Yeah. You think it's going to be just like Commando. But no, it goes in a completely different direction. And it's kind of funny. I say this because, like, you know, it's spawned on the series, right? You had Predator 2, which replaced Arnold with Danny Glover.
Yeah, but it also had Bill Paxton in it.
And Gary Busey. No offense, Danny Glover.
Yeah, no offense to Danny Glover. No offense to Danny Glover, but it's probably not the best choice to replace Arnold in a movie sequel to a movie that he
obviously was trying to do something very different, which is fine.
Yeah,
at least one of just like some sequels are just like carbon copies of the first one.
Yeah.
At least this is different. You know, you got in that one they had Predator killing a bunch of cops and gangbangers.
Yeah.
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 This is just killing a bunch of commando types. Anyway. Oh, but yeah, that's the point I was going to make. Yeah. And then, of course, they teamed up with Alien versus Predator, right?
Yes.
And Alien in itself is
all spawned from Predator 2, where on the trophy wall in the Predator's lair was a xenomorph skull.
That's right. But like, if the original Alien was very much a horror movie, a haunted house movie, right? You know, it's kind of sci-fi-ish, but, you know, it was very different from Aliens, which was a full-on action movie.
Yep.
But anyway, I digress.
Back to Predator. Great. So, just classic 80s action, and then some.
I have a confession to make. I think this is the second time I've ever seen Predator.
Really?
And I don't really remember the first time I saw it the whole way through. So I was really coming in this very fresh outside of the meme we have Arnold and brothers, you know, locking biceps. Which is funny because actually that scene also you kind of have, we were talking about this in the pre-show, Family Guy, Logan, you son of a bitch, was parodied as well.
Yes, it was.
That was a parody of this, right?
Yeah.
So very different than the setup of the scene, but it was very much inspired by that scene. So, but you know, and like you said, like the cast, if you think about it, it's like, you know, Jesse Ventura. Oh yeah, I love Jesse Ventura in this. And Bill Duke. I don't got time to bleed. Bill Duke in anything.
Yeah.
And what I didn't realize is you know, he's a fairly recognizable character actor, right? And generally enjoyable in most of what he does. For some reason, he sticks out to me as the warden in the season 3 episode of Lost.
Yeah.
where Sawyer helps him helps him find out the money, and it's like, you just conned your way out of prison.
Yep, that's right.
But what I realize is that he's also a director, and he's known as the godfather of African American cinema.
Interesting.
And yeah, it's kind of funny. He's like, oh yeah, one of the movies he directed, Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit.
Oh really? He worked with Whoopi Goldberg, huh?
He did work with the Whoopi.
He directed Whoopi.
I gotta go into this. Like nowadays, most kids be like, "What's a Whoopi?" Right? But if you're like me in the '90s, watching the Game Show Network of old newlywed games,
they're talking about making Whoopi.
They weren't talking about sitting on a piece of rubber and making fart sounds. No. If you haven't caught on yet, it means sex.
Yeah.
Oh,
I remember when
Hoodlum.
I remember when Whoopi Goldberg was on Hollywood Squares.
Yes, she was terrific in Hollywood Squares.
She was.
It was like her and Gilbert Gottfried.
Yeah. Yeah, and Shadow Stevens.
Yeah.
I only know Shadow Stevens from Hollywood Squares, but apparently he was like famous and a bunch of other stuff earlier before our time. But
it's like when you watch the original Hollywood Squares, there's always a few people that are like, oh, they seem to mostly just been famous among the famous people, and then they put them on that.
Yeah.
And somehow that's how they become famous.
And then also, though, in addition to Whoopi Goldberg and Gilbert Gottfried and Shadow Stevens, we had Bruce Vilanch. He was on there too.
Something about flamboyant, obese people that
it's funny.
Sometimes is really funny. Anyhow, back to Predator. The Predator is not flamboyant or obese.
No, in fact, in the original version of the movie, Predator was played by Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yes.
And it was a different design for the Predator also, a different alien design.
Instead, the Predator, as we'll find out later, is one ugly motherfucker.
Yes. In the words of Arnold Schwarzenegger, Dutch, you are one ugly motherfucker.
Anyway, it's terrific. We'll get there. That's later in the movie, but like he hasn't had time for a one-liner in a while.
Yeah,
he's just been trying to save his ass.
Yes, and of course, in this movie, in the final version of the movie, the Predator is played by Kevin Peter Hall,
which I was going to say we did not mention his name earlier. Kevin Peter Hall,
who also plays the helicopter
same
pilot.
Season. Yes. Oh, yes.
He plays the helicopter pilot. So that I would imagine is how the Predator knew where they were all the time.
Yes.
He's the one that flew him to the island.
I was going to say he was Harry and the Hendersons. But yes, he was doing some deep cover by flying him to the island and then hunting them down.
Yeah. Kevin Peter Hall was also Harry.
Yeah,
nice. Harry and the Hendersons. That's a movie we should do sometime.
But like that was a tragic
wonderful
death.
Movie.
Like he died of AIDS, right?
Oh.
But it was from like a blood transfusion.
Really?
Right. This is back like in the early times when like you could get that pretty easily through a blood transfusion, right?
Yeah.
Because he was in a car accident and he got a blood transfusion, and the person that had it, but it was HIV positive, and so sad death.
Yeah.
But then again, he hunted people for sport, so
yeah,
maybe he deserved it.
He did have a pretty cool laser gun on his shoulder, though.
Well, so I mean, this is the thing. Like, he is one ugly motherfucker.
He is.
But his costume is cool as hell.
Yeah, it is.
Anyhow, we've that's how the movie starts, right? Well, I guess that's not how it starts. The movie starts with him flying to Earth. Right?
Well, first off, so before we get into the movie, yes, I don't remember when the first time I saw this was.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it when I was a kid. I think I've only seen it probably 4 or 5 times all the way through.
Okay.
In my life. Maybe not even that many times. Maybe only like 3 or 4 times all the way through. But like, including the one that I watched the other day.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it was one of those ones that, when I was little, I wasn't allowed to watch it because it was too violent.
Yeah, I mean, it was very violent.
So I was really just picking it up, later on as I was growing up. But
it's kind of funny that we didn't really watch it a bunch.
Yeah.
At the apartment.
Yeah, we watched Commando several times in the apartment, but but Predator we didn't really watch all that much.
No.
Did we ever watch Predator together?
I don't think so.
I don't either. We had to watch Commando at least 5 or 6 times that year that we lived in that apartment.
But that's that's more of a guilty pleasure type of movie.
Yeah.
We also watched The Running Man a lot.
Yeah, we ddid.
I love The Running Man.
Running
my goodness.
Fantastic
Movie.
Oh.
That boy's one mean motherfucker.
Killian, here is Sub-Zero. Now, Plane Zero. What does that even mean?
That was the same year as Predator, by the way.
Oh, really? It was.
Also, a very NES 8-bit type of movie.
Yep. Which there was a game on NES called Smash TV.
Yes.
Which kind of reminded me a little bit of that concept where it's like a game show kind of thing. But yeah.
Great things. Richard Dawson's the villain in that.
Yeah.
Now you got stuff like Hunger Games and Squid Game and all that. I mean, the Squid Game is fantastic.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Which Hunger Games really, I'm sure when we do the Running Man episode, we'll get deeper into this, but Hunger Games is essentially a remake of Running Man.
Yeah. So.
But yeah.
Both Jennifer Lawrence and Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
Well, Woody Harrelson's not in the game, but anyway.
Yeah. And the lesser known Hemsworth brother.
Yeah.
Or the middle known Hemsworth brother.
Is that like I was gonna say, is that like which Baldwin brother would that be? It's not Dan. Is it Daniel Baldwin? No, Daniel Baldwin's the lesser known Baldwin brother.
It'd probably be Billy Baldwin.
Then you have Alec Baldwin. It'd be Billy Baldwin.
Yeah, it'd be Billy Baldwin.
He's got Alec, and then Steven's well enough known. Yeah, it'd be Billy. Daniel's the one like who the fuck is Daniel?
I know he was on a season of The Surreal Life.
I think I remember a movie with him and Bridget Fonda, maybe.
Huh.
Or was it Billy Baldwin? I don't know.
No, Billy Baldwin was in Backdraft with Kurt Russell.
That's right.
It's a great movie.
Mulholland Falls. Huh. Okay, anyway. The Baldwin's back to Predator.
Back to Predator.
Spoiler alert. A lot of people die in this movie.
Yes. So
just about everyone dies in this movie.
Yes. So spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about the entire movie, beginning, middle, and end. So if you have not seen it, you don't want to be spoiled, pause the podcast, watch the movie, come back and listen. If you have seen the movie or you don't mind being spoiled, then go ahead and keep on listening.
Yeah. Which is interesting because Carl Weathers, it's funny. Talk about spoilers, and everybody dies, right? And it's kind of funny because, you think Carl Weathers, maybe it's because of him being centered in that meme that's made a big deal.
Yeah.
Right? Because you get this we expected it to last most of the movie at least. No.
I mean, he's not the first one to go.
He's halfway through the movie.
Yeah. He makes it a good way through the movie, but he does have pretty awesome death.
He does. He's also not the most likable character.
True. Anyway. He's kind of halfway villain.
Yes, but we don't see him first. We see the alien spaceship flies in
we
space.
See it. It opens up. It's showing its space. You get Earth in the in the side of the screen, and then you see this spaceship flying toward Earth.
Very 80s graphics.
Yes.
In the best way possible.
Yes. But then you see it go, into the atmosphere, and it's burning up in the atmosphere. Yeah. And it's up on an island in Central America.
Let's keep doing all Central American movies like Jurassic Park.
Yeah. Maybe it's the same island. Maybe it landed on Isla Nublar or Isla Sorna.
I would say, hopefully it's the right Isla. It's smart enough to stay away from the dinosaurs.
Yeah. Yeah. Or maybe, it landed there because it wanted to hunt some dinosaurs.
Yeah. Then again, the heat signatures would be different on a cold-blooded animal.
Yes.
Anyway, So goes through, and then what? The next scene, like what? Is it Arnold being flown in to like some military base?
Yes, I believe that is what it is.
And some guys like, some general was like briefing him.
Yeah, so Arnold's being flown in because he and the special forces team that he's being placed with, he's worked with at least a few of them before. Or are they just like, are they all just one team that they flew in, or were they sort of a hodgepodge of people from different teams?
I think they were mostly together.
Yeah. Either way. So they flew him and his team in to deal with some guerrilla fighters that have been killing people.
Yeah.
That have been attacking their troops.
And there's now been, but now it gets to like a boiling point because there's a cabinet minister that is now kind of like captured by them. Is the way it's presented to Dutch.
Yeah. Dutch, of course, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. And so Dutch, he walks into the headquarters area there, and Carl Weathers, Dylan, is sitting there. And that's when you get the whole, Dylan, you son of a bitch.
Well, right. And like Dutch realizes, as they were talking about this, right, that where they kind of went down was over the border in an area that they're not supposed to be.
Yeah.
Right? This is the 80s. Like there was a bunch of crap going on in Central America.
Yeah.
Was
it actually on an island in Central America, or was it just in...
I think it was just in
the mainland
Central America.
Central America, yeah.
I think it was just the mainland.
Yeah.
Like, again, like on some border where technically we should not have had ground people in there, right? It's like if, during the Vietnam War, if we had gone someplace other than Vietnam, that would have been a very, very bad thing, right? Yeah. Even though people did, obviously, but... This is the case, and you can see if some cabinet members of the president are discovered across the wrong lines, you can see the quagmire that there might be.
Yes.
At least that's the way it's presented.
Yeah.
But that's like you said.
Yeah. So
he sees Dylan.
Dutch and Dylan greet each other, and they do the meme. They go to
bulging biceps.
They go to they're not really shaking hands, but they sort of grab each other's hands and flex, and then basically arm wrestle in the air.
Yeah.
Right there.
Which is interesting because like Dylan is, he's got his shirt, he's got his sleeves rolled up, and right, he's got his top button unbuttoned, but he's got the tie loosened up, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can tell he's like a desk guy now. But obviously they have a history, and regardless of what it is, like Dylan, he's still going to the gym, obviously. And we discover that they were in Vietnam together, right? Isn't it just strange to think about now? If you were to just make Predator today, how completely different that would be, right?
Yeah.
Let's say it's just a brand new movie today.
Mm-hmm.
Like there'd be people that were in like Iraq or Afghanistan together. So funny how times change. But the idea is just to send a rescue mission in as quickly as possible to extract these ministers and get them out.
Yeah.
But Dutch, he's a smart guy and kind of realizes that there's something fishy going on, right? But he agrees to it, and they kind of go back and forth because Dylan's, he's the one that's kind of like trying to convince him to do this. And he said, oh yeah, he passed on this job in Libya, this and that, right? And his idea is like, we're not assassins. He doesn't want to go in there assassinating people, right? Which is kind of one of the things that he fears, right? Not trying to do the CIA's dirty work, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he has a very complicated history with working with the CIA.
And then
he doesn't quite trust them.
Yes. So, he agrees, and I guess he found out what? Does he know if Dylan has sent anyone else in front of him or not?
I think he mentioned that he sent a team in before, but hasn't heard from him.
Yes.
Which is why he called in Arnold's team.
That's what it is, yeah. Like, I think they sent in, like, some Green Berets.
Yeah, that's right. They sent in some Green Berets, and they lost contact with them. So that's why they got Dutch and his guys, because they're, like, the SEALs of Green Berets.
Yeah. And he trusts them, and he doesn't think, if he does it personally, he's not going to say no. Things happen with buddies in war, so I get it.
Yeah.
And then it's like after that, as they're flying down to Central America, now we really get a sense of Dutch's team. I love how they set all this up, right? It's the stereotypical rah-rah type of like military guys, right? They're in the chopper, right? You got Ramirez like, get that stinking thing out of my face. Like, how many Marines does it take to eat a squirrel? They got their guns, right? I love when Blaine's like, this stuff will put hair on your hog leg, guaranteed.
Yeah, so each person in this chopper they're the most macho, badass, 80s stereotype action hero.
This is how it starts off to be really interesting, right?
Yeah.
So they start off so stereotypical. And it's like, okay, it'd be very easy to be thinking, oh, this is just stereotypical, right? Yeah. You don't miss. It's satirizing it.
Yeah.
The situation.
Yeah.
Right? And it's funny because, like, the Jesse Ventura character, like, he's one of the big ones, right? That's, you get the pro wrestler to star in this thing. And he's one of the most macho of them, right? And he dies pretty easily.
Yeah, he's the first one to go. Actually, no, I guess he's not.
Shane Black is the first one.
Hawkins is the first one to go.
Which also is very kind of stereotypical because he's like the young guy, the mission that.
Yeah. The guy with the glasses.
Anyway. Yeah. Don't worry. He'll write the last Boy Scout. They found a copy posthumously.
Yes.
As well as Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which somehow he directed.
Yes. And Iron Man 3.
Yeah. Hats off to him.
Yeah. But yeah, so Blaine, Jesse Ventura's character, is the second one to go. But
correct.
We'll get to all that.
Right. So they get in there, and the first thing they discover is the wreckage of the helicopter. And there's much, surprisingly, they find 3 corpses completely skinned.
Yeah, completely skinned and hanging. Is this one that found them hanging from the tree, or were they just in the crash? They weren't in the chopper.
They found them outside. Okay, they found like blood and other things in there. What's interesting, because it wouldn't really be in there, because like as you find out later, I mean, these are basically trophies.
Mm-hmm.
Like just to keep them in the helicopter wouldn't make a lot of sense.
But yeah, they were completely skinned, and they're like, "That's weird." Gorillas don't usually skin people.
What kind of? It's like. It's just maybe it's some just serial killer gorilla. I don't know.
It's like, and these of course are gorilla soldiers, not like gorillas, not the ape.
You eat gorilla.
Yes. Yes. Although somebody needs to make a movie with gorillas.
That was called Congo.
Touche.
They were fat. PH fat.
That was such a bad movie.
It was. And the thing that was so disappointing about that is because it's based off of a Crichton book and it came right after Jurassic Park.
Yep.
And it was horrible.
The gorillas were clearly people in gorilla suits.
Which, fine. But, hey, at least it had Ernie Hudson and Tim Curry.
It did. It did.
That movie also takes place in a jungle.
Yes, it does. The jungles of Africa.
Gorillas everywhere.
Oh, getting eviscerated by lasers.
Yeah. So interesting. Mel Gibson played the gorilla in The Patriot.
Yes, he did. The other kind of gorilla again.
That took place in South Carolina, though.
Yes, it did.
Not many movies take place in South Carolina. Which just goes to show
you there are gorillas all over the world.
All right. Dutch quickly figures out that these were the Green Berets.
Yeah. And that's why they haven't heard from them.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of hard to call into base when you don't have any skin on you.
And he continues to be like suspicious of, of Dylan. So they continue onward. They do not know they're being tracked because we do have some shots of something that has infrared and is checking their heat signatures.
Yeah.
And so, and this again, now this is a brilliant part of this movie. So it's kind of like Jaws, right? Where we don't really see the shark until like halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
Like we get little glimpses of things happening, right? And here, no, we see his vantage point, but we don't see him for a while.
We don't see him for a while. And even when we do start seeing him, it's more seeing his silhouette because he's using camouflage. It's really the
silhouette because of his cloaking device. Yeah. Which is like, it's actually, it's a really good point because like you do see that as you get further in the movie, and then it's just that for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But that's still just like disorienting because the movie does a great job of kind of putting you in that situation where like, you know, you're scared and all of a sudden you just kind of see this figure that's just like a silhouette moving around.
Mm-hmm.
It really throws you into it. Anyway, we're not there yet though, because now they've gotten to the gorilla camp.
Yes, they've gotten to the gorilla camp. And
the UE gorillas, not the
the guerillas.
Big furry zoo gorillas. There's also the gorillas.
The animated band.
They're not in this movie. Though I'd be more happy to see them in the movie. Feel Good Inc. Anyway. That's a lot of gorilla talk.
Yes, it is.
I mean, gorillas don't live in Central America.
Well, if someone like John Hammond wanted to start a gorilla island in Central America, you know, bring back
Malcolm would not have a problem because
bring back some extinct species of gorilla or near extinct species.
Yeah, I mean, they're threatened because of man just being assholes.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the movie. They get to the gorilla camp. They're scoping it out now. We then get into the full-fledged like commando action 80s war movie, right? Well, what's Ventura's gun called again? He has a name for it.
Oh, what did he name his gun? I mean, it's an M234 minigun, but he has a name for it.
Oh, Old Painless.
Yes.
Because you get shot with that, they're gonna just
you're not gonna feel it. You're not gonna feel it.
Is it true that there's a place in the man's head that if you shoot it,
it will blow up?
Blow up. No. With the minigun, you'll just blow up. But it will be painless.
Yeah, there will be. No, it won't even really blow up. There'll just be so many bullets going through you at the same time that you just sort of fall apart. I mean, in a little bit, they're literally mowing down the jungle with it.
They're killing everybody.
They're cutting down trees with it.
This scene reminds me of the scene in Tropic Thunder.
Yes.
I guess Tropic Thunder thought about this scene. I'm a lead farmer, motherfucker.
I'm a lead farmer, motherfucker. I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
It is way too bad that was the same year as Dark Knight. Because Ledger and Downey were just...
They were both brilliant.
And again, this is this time when you get to enjoy a few Arnold one-liners. Yes. Because the rest of the movie is like pure terror.
Yeah.
For the most part. It's like he got knocked off. Just anyway, but they're mowing down everybody, and they get to see.
So they go through. They just completely wipe out the gorillas
because they see one of the hostages get like assassinated.
Yes,
before they kind of go in and just kill.
So here's an interesting thing. So the character names for these people, we have hostage executed by the Russian.
That's right. There's Russians in there. Thank you.
Guerrilla soldier shot down from tree. Guerrilla soldier blown up in van.
That's right. I forgot the scene where they blow up the van.
And guerrilla soldier helicopter pilot.
There's so much that happens in this scene. I almost kind of forget about it because you get so focused in the main action in the movie.
Yeah. Then we have medic. That's another name. And So, yeah, we mentioned that Kevin Peter Hall plays the Predator. He does not do the Predator's voice, which we hear later on in the movie at the end, which isn't really that intimidating of a voice compared to like how the Predator's been the entire movie. But
no,
the one that does his voice is Peter Cullen.
Yeah.
Who, of course, was Optimus Prime in the Transformers cartoon and also the movies.
That's right.
Which, I mean, with Peter Cullen doing the voice, I'm really surprised that it's not an intimidating voice.
Anyway, so they get through there, and they actually are able to take their own prisoner.
Yes.
A young woman.
A young woman who is part of the guerrilla squad, Anna.
And she's just not talking, which can't blame her. And, they have her tied up, which ends up being to her advantage.
Yes.
Because, spoiler alert, she lives, but she's just as terrified for good reason.
Yes. She lives. Not only does she live, but she's not really hunted by the Predator.
No, she's not. I think it's funny. In the end credits, she just smiles.
Yeah.
The entire movie.
The end credits for this movie are just so ridiculous.
But it's part of what makes it
great.
Terrific.
It's so great.
It's like sitcom credits.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, people have taken the end credits to this movie and put sitcom music to them, and it fits perfectly.
It could be a Mentos commercial.
It could be.
Anyhow, so they realize that, okay, this is not everything they signed up for. They need to get back to the chopper.
Yeah.
And get out, right? Because they just left a trail of blood, and they realize other people are going to come back soon.
Yeah. They realize there's going to be more guerrillas out there, and maybe some chimps will join them, and
the orangutan or two, maybe a baboon.
I mean, maybe it's just Planet of the Apes out here. But
Tim Roth is going to come up and make up for the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes anyway.
Yeah, and they're going to go and they're going to find Charlton Heston somewhere and have to rescue him.
And the Statue of Liberty's right there. Anyway.
Yep.
So they're leaving. And they're talking amongst each other. But now, again, we get the point of view of the Predator. And it's listening to their voices and recording the voices. Which it's going to use to its advantage later, right? It's going to mimic their voices later.
Because it can do that, because it's an alien. We saw a ship in the opening sequence of the movie.
Yeah. So, not too surprised by some of its technology. We don't know the full extent of everything it has yet. We can see it can skin people alive. Anyway.
It's got a really cool blade that pops out of its forearm. It's got like a gauntlet that...
It's got such a great suit.
Yeah.
I mean, kudos to actually creating that suit. And the whole design. So, yeah. But as they're leaving, at some point, Billy kind of spots something in the trees. Like, he gets a glimpse of kind of its movements. It's cloaked, right?
Yeah.
He's the one that has real sense of something going on. Like, he's got a real good intuition, right? He can kind of just be silent, observe, and kind of try to see what's there, right? And Billy is played by Sonny Landham, who also played Billy in 48 Hours, if you've seen the Nick Nolte, Eddie Murphy classic.
Yep. Different Billy, though. Or
yes. Was it? Right, so they're moving along, and then Anna decides to try to escape, right? And then they send Hawkins, played by Shane Black, after her, right? And then you get the sequence where you see the heat signatures move, and Predator's like moving with them. And he captures, like she kind of falls, and he captures up to her. And then she gets like a glimpse.
Yeah.
Of it.
Because, Predator, sure, it's cloaked, but when it's moving, you can still make out a slight silhouette of moving. Because
it's not really the cloak with everything that it's passing different things. It's also moving things.
Yeah.
As obviously, right? It can't not move whatever it's running through if it's jumping through trees, right?
If it's staying completely still, they can't really see it. But once it moves, it's not like cloaking doesn't make it 100% invisible. It's just basically reflecting what's around it.
As she will say later, it's like chameleon, right?
Yeah.
If you look closely enough, you can kind of see it. But you have to be attuned to kind of see where it's going. Anyway, he catches up with her, and then she kind of sees it. And then he gets like stabbed from behind, and blood just splatters all over her face. And she screams.
Then he gets picked up,
and he gets hauled away. And later we discovered that he also gets skinned.
Yes.
Which my guess is, given what we see what happened with some of the others, maybe he doesn't think that he's as great of a prize.
Maybe
he's just his skin is all.
he was the scrawniest of them.
Yes.
Everybody else in this team was like big dudes.
Yeah.
And Shane Black was, Hawkins was the skinny one.
Yeah, he's got glasses.
That too. So, already, the Predator could see him and see that he was sort of, the weakest of them and took him out first because it wasn't really much of a challenge. No,
it was a very easy kill. And now they hear the scream. So the rest of the team comes and she's frightened. There's blood all over her.
Mm-hmm. Right? And then Hawkins is nowhere to be found. So they're thinking that she killed him.
Yeah. Right. And so then they try to search for him. And, she's just not saying anything about it. Right. And then there's Blaine. So he's one of them. Jesse Ventura. He has Old Painless, which actually it's quite appropriate what ends up happening to him as he's searching.
Yes, it is. So he's searching. He's got Old Painless out. He doesn't even get to use Old Painless. Or does he at least get to fire a couple of rounds?
I think he does fire a couple. Yeah. Yes. But it doesn't do him much good.
No, it doesn't. But yeah, so he's searching around and, you get the Predator, up in the trees and you sort of see it moving around, see its silhouette moving around. And it's aiming laser for this gun on its shoulder. It's really interesting because it's like these 3 lines that form like a triangle.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, you see that up here on Blaine.
And then his just kind of explodes.
Yeah, he just gets this huge hole in his chest.
In his middle section.
Like his entire torso just goes bye-bye.
A plasma cannon will do that.
Yeah. And he's a big dude.
It's just a freaking picture.
And that hole is big enough to take up his entire torso. So, yeah.
But it's appropriate because, that would have been pretty painless.
Yeah, it would have been. It would have been.
That's what kind of sucks for them, though. It's like they kind of have some, well, not all of them have completely painless deaths, but some of them have painless deaths. But then what happens is the body's just, anyway.
Mm-hmm. Carl Weathers has a pretty painful death in there.
That's what I mean. He does. He gets his fucking arm shot off.
Yeah.
Before he gets killed.
Yeah.
Well, I like the scene because you actually get to see kind of his face as the backside of him is like exploding out.
Yeah.
Forward.
He just has this giant hole
spray of blood. But they find his body actually,
right?
They
find his body.
Scream. They hear him, or the shots really. They hear the noise.
And so Dutch is, going and mourning him. Meanwhile, Mac, Bill Duke,
who was best friends with
him, he's mourning him too, and then he decides he's going to take Old Painless and finish the job that Blaine was
I feel kind of bad he doesn't get to finish that job.
Yeah.
Right? It's not going to happen, obviously, at this point. But I'm glad he had a goal.
Yes.
In the last 12 hours of his life. And this time his body's there. They put it in a body bag.
Yes.
Right? And it's nighttime now. They're going to try to stick together instead of being separated, right? Because they kind of realize, so when they kind of get separated is when one of them gets killed.
Yeah.
Right?
So, but not too long after that, though, wasn't it like shortly after Blaine's death that Mac saw something running off into the jungle?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he takes Old Painless and he just starts firing wildly into the jungle.
Mm-hmm.
And so the others come over and they just start firing. And they're just mowing down these trees and bushes and all this stuff out there. And they're just shooting for a couple of minutes. And I noticed this when I was watching it. Finally, in an 80s action war type movie, one of them finally reloads. I didn't see which one it was.
Someone did it.
But one of them dropped the magazine out of their M16, popped in another one, and started firing again. No infinite ammo for you. Everybody else, though, seemed to have infinite ammo.
So, now, we're kind of at that point where it's transitioning. We had, the action war movie. Mm-hmm. Now it's kind of transitioning to the slasher movie, right? Yes. So, because you have later that night, right, you have, Mac, he's just waxing poetically about his best friend. I love how he does it.
Yep.
He's just sitting there and thinking about his best friend. He's kind of giving his own salute, but also vowing his revenge, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he hears a noise and he goes off in the woods.
Yeah, I mean, he's got his flask, he takes a sip and then leaves the flask with Blaine. He opens up the body bag and he's sort of talking to him, takes a swig from his flask and then closes it up, puts the flask on what's left of Blaine's chest, and then closes up the body bag.
Oh, wait, I forgot the scene about this too. This is an important scene. Billy is now adamant because he's, again, seeing everything. Like, whatever is hunting them is not human.
Yeah. So right. Billy is the Native American member of their team.
Yes.
And so 80s Native American characters, you're all like one with the land and expert trackers and all of this. So
we also did forget when they are shooting everything in the jungle, they do wound.
Yes, they hit predator. It in the leg. One of them, probably Mac, hits it in the leg.
So we do see, to use another Arnold movie, like when he administers first aid to himself in the Terminator, we see the Predator administer some first aid to itself.
Yes, and so the Predator
that's when they kind of realize that they're being hunted.
Yeah, so the Predator's bleeding, and it's got like bright green, like glow in the dark. Like if you've ever broken open a green glow stick, it's like that, like the liquid that's in those. Yeah,
that's a good comparison. So that's when they make camp for the night. And actually, even before they're thinking back to their friends, their comrades, they set up booby traps around their camp. Right? Mm-hmm. They're going to be hunted, right? They're going to stick together and they're going to try to capture this thing.
Yeah.
Or at least be alerted. So then they don't capture, they can defend themselves against this thing. It's probably the more appropriate way of saying it. So, but that's when, we get Mac talking about his buddy. And then he hears one of the alarms go off, one of the booby traps go off. Right. And, he's got his knife with him too. Right. And he kind of wants to get like up close and personal with this thing if he can. Right. He's going to make it hurt. It's not going to be all painless. No,
he's going to make it all painful.
You're going to feel this.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he killed his best friend.
Yeah. No, I don't blame him. I don't care about Shane Black. He can... He was kind of annoying. Anyway. And then, so he's running through the jungle, right? And then the others get alerted to this. And then they catch up with him and they see him. He's panting. He's got some blood on him. And like he's kind of hovering over this kill. And all this is a wired boar.
Yeah.
Which, hey, fine. I mean, like, hey, they can actually make a nice dinner now.
They can. They can have bacon with their breakfast.
I mean, wild boar is good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It is I love boar. It is probably, one of my favorite things to eat if I get a chance to eat it.
Yeah, it's tasty.
So, enough about that. Right. So, but while all that is happening, they've left Blaine's body by itself, and the predator comes in and takes away his body. Right. Because he uses these bodies as trophies.
Yeah.
Right.
He's got to,
So, we get the next day, and Dutch now realizes as these things are going on that their enemy or this thing, they're not really calling it a predator, but it's essentially what it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just using the trees to kind of hunt them.
Yeah.
And, I think he's now pieced together at this point that the Green Berets were not killed by the guerrillas.
No. It was not guerrillas that killed them.
No.
It was
either type of gorilla.
Yeah. Wasn't the human gorillas or the hairy gorillas.
So, he frees Anna, and he realizes the reason why he didn't kill Anna is because she was like defenseless and didn't have any weapons.
She didn't have a weapon.
It was like, this is not something I want to hunt. He realizes quickly, he wants to like hunt these things without weapons. It's not as fun hunting something.
Yeah, they can't really fight back. So
it's like that line in Jurassic Park, like with the goats. Like, T-Rexes want to be fed. He wants to hunt.
Yep.
Predator wants to hunt.
Yep. And so Dutch sort of makes it his mission to make sure that Anna never gets a weapon. Like, not just because technically she's an enemy combatant, but also because he realizes that the predator is not hunting her because she's unarmed.
Right. And it's too late for them. They're armed. They've shot back at it.
Yeah.
Like, they're marked. So it's not like they can just drop their weapons. They need to hold on and the best they can. Right. But then, like, I like this scene. This scene's like kind of gets like overlooked. Now we're into like the slasher mode, right? But we're also getting into lore mode, right? And she's like, oh yeah, like her people have talked about, seeing mutilated bodies that have been skinned, and it kind of goes on like, this happens every so often, right? So it's like you get a background, like, okay, this has happened before.
Yeah. So this is probably not the first time that this area of the world has been visited by these aliens.
Like,
it may be the same predator. It may be a different one, but
it's like it or Jeepers Creepers every so many years. Something comes. Maybe for the predator, it might be different ones. It and Jeepers Creepers, the same one.
I mean, who knows? It may be, the final test before they become a predator warrior or something.
Yes, this is like their gang initiation. They need to kill a Chinese shop owner.
Maybe. It's going to be kind of hard to find one in the middle of like Nicaragua, but
I mean, whatever it might be. Defense. And now I'm thinking about falling down. All right. I love Michael Douglas. So anyway, they're going on. They decide to construct a trap to find it, to capture it. The best, like how do they kind of lure it to the trap? The good thing about this at this point is,
do they just use themselves as bait?
I think they do, because now this is a point for this movie now where you don't really get the creature's point of view for a while. Which works well because you don't know where it is, right? Before it starts attacking them, it's cool. You can see they don't know they're being watched, but you do. But then once they discover that, you don't really get the sense of, they're just like them. You don't know exactly where this
you don't know
thing
where it is. You see little glimpses of it here and there, but that's about it. But it's also around this time that they find the blood that it's been leaking from its leg, from its wound. And that's when you get another great Arnold one-liner. If it bleeds, we can kill it.
But it's true. I mean, they know now, okay, this is an actual creature that can be killed.
Yeah.
Because it can bleed.
Yep.
Anyway, while they're doing this, kind of the forgotten guy, because is Pancho.
Yes.
He injures his leg, within this. And they're at the point now is okay, we could try to kill it, but they just need to get to their rendezvous as quickly as possible. Yeah. Because they're already expecting, they knew they were not going to be there long. So they were expecting the chopper to come.
Yeah. They're just trying to get out of there. They've lost too many people already. They're just trying to get out. The thing frees itself, and Mac and Dylan kind of separated off from the group, right? And then eventually you have Dylan walking around and he hears Mac's voice. Although first, before this, we had an argument between Dutch and Dylan.
That's right. Yes. Thank you.
Because the truth came out about why they were sent here. Why the CIA. Because Dylan works for the CIA and they weren't exactly sent there to just take care of the guerillas.
No.
Did they have intelligence on this thing or was it something else?
I don't think they really did.
Trying to remember.
Let's see.
It's been about a week or so since I watched it. So
what's interesting about all this too is that, thinking about this, I'm trying to kind of think about the exact point where they're trying to get an end. Dylan, this is where you kind of don't like Dylan a lot. It's he's always an absolute asshole.
Yeah.
to their visitor. That's what it was. So Dylan's the one that's keeping in contact with the extraction team. Yeah. Obviously he's the CIA guy, right? And they're saying they're still too compromised, right? And and Dutch is kind of realizing I know we're kind of expendable, aren't we? Right? They don't want to go too far in, and they don't want to get themselves to a point. They want to make sure they're at a safe point and not kind of get compromised themselves.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what it is. Because again, it gets back to the lines of where they are.
Yeah. 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 So Dutch gets mad at Dylan for basically, bringing him in and just showing that, to Dylan and his CIA team, Dutch and his squad are expendable. And not the Expendables, which came a couple decades later.
Not them.
But
also a good movie.
But so they went in there. They sent them in there with no intention of ever actually bringing them out.
Yeah.
Or rather, if they could, they would. But if they didn't, they weren't going to shed any tears.
No, whatever. Again, expendable.
Yeah.
And that type of shit pisses Arnold Schwarzenegger off.
Yeah. So that's when Dutch and Dylan kind of went their separate ways.
Yes.
And Dylan went off with Pancho.
So, but you got Mac and Dylan. They get down, and eventually,
did he go out with Mac?
Mac and Dylan together.
Okay, Mac. Yeah. So he didn't go with Pancho. Yeah, he went off with Mac.
Pancho's with Arnold. Yeah. And Sonny. He's still there too.
Mm-hmm. Billy.
So they're going down through, and eventually they kind of get separated. And Dylan hears Mac's voice. And what's really good about this part too is you've seen the Predator record their voices, so you're wondering is the Predator mimicking Mac, or is it Mac?
Yeah.
And Dylan thinks it's Mac.
Yeah, Dylan thinks it's Mac. And by the way, Dylan is walking around. Carl Weathers has an MP5 in each hand.
It's a really glorious sight. He was in Action Jackson.
Yes, he was.
Jackson that same year. Very different movie.
Yep.
The 80s doesn't get enough credit for throwing black guys in as like action stars.
Yeah.
In comedy action movies. I mean, come on.
Yep.
Anyhow.
I mean, the 80s is when we got Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah.
That was an action comedy starring Eddie Murphy.
Yeah. You got the mismatch partners in Lethal Weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
You know? And then Carl Weathers. Anyhow. So, and all of a sudden he hears a shh, and he looks down and Mac is
hiding in the bushes.
Kind of in bushes. But not, as we discovered later, not that well enough. But
yeah.
And then he kind of gets down there and he's pointing out and he can see kind of the movement.
Yeah, he can see the movement of the Predator up there. And
because he doesn't know yet that the Predator can see heat signatures.
Yeah. No, he doesn't. So Mac's plan is
he's disguised well, but
yeah,
if there was not heat tracking.
Yeah, but so Mac's plan here is, in order to get away from the Predator, he's going to create a distraction so that Carl Weathers can run away and get out of there. So he does that. Dylan runs, but to no avail. The Predator knows what's going on, and he wanted it to happen so that he could get Dylan alone.
Yeah.
And so Dylan's sort of out in the open and gets his arm shot off.
Yes. This is what we're talking about. Dylan gets a painful death.
Yes, he gets a painful death. He gets
getting your arm shot off.
You see the little triangle appear on Dylan,
his bicep,
and just hit this plasma gun that the Predator has. This like auto targeting on its shoulder. It just blows off his arm.
Yeah,
and so he loses the gun in that hand, but he's still got the one in the other hand. So like a badass. He stands up and he's shooting up into the trees with his good arm.
Amen, because he
just got his arm blown off. So
it hurts.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. I've never felt that, but I would imagine that would.
I would imagine it would hurt quite a bit.
And then we hear his dying scream as we see the others, and gets like stabbed to the back. And that's the last we see of Dylan.
Yep.
And then we get the shot of Mac. He's still in his little supposed hiding spot. And the little triangle shows up on his head.
Yep.
And we see his head explode.
Yeah. And then Mac is no more.
What's odd about that is we actually see like full parts of his head. It's not like it, I guess some pieces of it survived. You could make a jigsaw puzzle out of it. I
don't know. I mean, it wouldn't be a complete jigsaw puzzle. There'd still be a big hole in there, but...
It's kind of. It's like, anyway, I don't know. I think there'd be a lot less pieces than what we saw, but it's rather bloody. But at least he doesn't get his spinal column ripped out. No, because Blaine had that happen to him after the Predator dragged his body away. Yes.
After it snuck his body away, took him up into a tree.
Of course.
Yeah, forgot about this.
He's already dead.
Yeah, he's already dead. But so the Predator, takes Blaine's body up into a tree.
We find out. We find out later, and he
rips its spinal column out with his skull still attached. Just rips it all out of his back, and
then it bellows into the jungle air.
Yeah,
and then brachiosauruses look up.
And they come to nibble at leaves in that tree.
And
then he reaches out to pet it, and it sneezes in his face.
And they're Vegisauruses. So he has no need to go ahead and hunt them.
Yeah, they're not dangerous. Even though one of them sneezed in his face.
Yeah, no. He finds it kind of cute. Unlike Urena Richards.
Because he has a mask on, so...
He's got PPE.
Yep.
He was guarding himself against the Rona before everybody else. This is how advanced
they are.
Right.
That's right.
Oh my. So at this point now, like, okay, they realize that they gotta get out as quickly as possible. But the Predator's super fast too.
Yeah.
I mean, So they're fleeing, and I like how Billy just kind of like, there's kind of like a log over like a small little like ravine or stream, right?
Mm-hmm.
He decides that he needs to get one with this thing and face it.
So he takes his shirt off and he like gets his knife out and he starts cutting himself. He's the most enigmatic of these characters. Because he doesn't get a lot of lines. He just stares in the jungle, and then he takes off his shirt and just, he just slicing himself across the chest. And
we don't even get to see like him get killed. We just hear his scream later. And they hear it, and they're still running now. And then at this point, like Pancho, he got wounded like earlier, so like Dutch kind of has to like carry him, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's got his arm around him, and he's they're trying to run off, and then he gets shot, right?
Yeah,
it's killed by the predator. So he gets, his is kind of the least climactic of the deaths.
Yeah,
it kind of happens.
Kind of just happens.
Poor guy. Anyway.
Yeah. So we're down to just Dutch and Anna.
Yeah, and he's trying to get Anna to where the rendezvous point's supposed to be. What does she have to do?
Get to the chopper! Get to the chopper! Get to the chopper!
I love how, like, for Arnold, a line that might not have been meant to be, well, eventually at some point, like, it's like, Arnold is going to like deliver this line that most people would deliver and be like, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
No,
but when
Arnold's going to deliver this line.
He's going to deliver it. He's going to deliver this line. Tom
Hanks in Castaway.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to make sure this fucking thing gets delivered.
He is going to deliver this line like Danny DeVito delivered the baby from his belly in Junior.
There you go. We should do Twins. Oh, we should do a Twins Junior.
Yes. Yes. We should.
Combo episode.
We should.
Oh, yeah. And what's great, they both become Batman villains. And then randomly.
For a different Batman. But
yes. Well, it's the funny thing about the Academy Awards skit is that they came out together and they are both like leering at Batman.
Yes.
But Arnold should have been leering at George Clooney.
He should have been, but not Michael Keaton.
Anyway.
But anyway, so he's yelling, "Get to the chopper!" Well, the Predator is attacking because he wants Anna to go and get to the chopper and get out of there.
And he starts kind of fleeing, and he gets down to like this little river, right? And he falls. I guess he's swinging in the river. I'm trying to remember. Like, he kind of like falls in the river, right?
Yeah, I think he swings.
Yeah, he swings in. He kind of falls. It's like the middle of the river, and he has to swim the rest of the way across to the other bank.
Yeah,
where it's muddy.
It's muddy, and so he's crawling out of the water, and he's just covered in mud. And the Predator comes out.
And like he gets to a point where he kind of finds a place where he thinks he can hide, and he sees it coming.
Yeah, there's this mud wall under the roots of a tree.
Has the Predator's cloaking device been like deactivated?
Yes, so it's kind of faulty. The water kind of
that's what happens.
Kind of started
the
getting
water
to it.
kind of, because again, it makes sense that it's kind of not electronic in the way we kind of think of being electronic, but it disrupts it still.
Yeah. So Predator's walking up on the bank of the river,
view of it,
and Arnold doesn't have time to get away, so he kind of just like presses up against this mud wall under the roots of this tree.
Yes. And
is just kind of just waiting there to get killed.
Yeah.
The Predator walks up.
It stares at him. Stands right in front of him, can't see him. And then it starts looking around, and it looks left, looks up, and it looks to its right. And it sees a small heat signature.
Yep. There's a little animal.
Right. And it shoots, and it blows up like this log, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like a squirrel or some other little rodent-type jungle creature that just scurries away. And then he looks around again, and then walks away.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And now he realized, Dutch realized, like, he's looking at himself. He sees he's covered in mud and realizes that, he's camouflaged. Like, it's hiding his heat signature. He realizes, like, that's how it's been able to track him, right? Is it used infrared.
Yeah, so Dutch is like, okay, so I'm going to cover myself in mud.
I love this
and
next
then
part. Like,
you have your classic 80s montage, but it's Arnold Schwarzenegger setting up traps all over the jungle.
No, this scene, okay.
It is awesome.
So Arnold is now the final girl, the horror movie.
Yes.
And then he inspires Kevin McAllister.
Yes. So yeah, he's going around, he's setting up these traps. The first one he sets up is he gets this giant log and like creates this pulley system, with vines and all this, and pulls the log up and hangs it from the trees, and then sets it on a little tiny stick is holding this log up, sort of wedges the stick between the tree limbs, and then he builds a bow and arrow, and he
builds an In-N-Out burger.
Yeah, he builds an In-N-Out burger and gets some delicious burgers. In-N-Out, if you want to be a sponsor of our podcast, then send us burgers.
Send us a line.
But anyway,
White Castle, we will also be your sponsor.
Yes,
because we will be doing a Harold and Kumar episode.
Yes, we will be. We will be. And we have a wonderful story about Tony's first trip to White Castle.
We have a wonderful. It involves a pimp.
Yes, it does.
That's not a joke.
Nope.
There was a pimp.
Yes, there was.
There was also Curtis 50 Cent Jackson.
Yep. And a gang fight. But, or a near gang fight. Almost a gang war in the middle of the place. But anyway, that's for a whole nother episode.
That's a whole other episode.
Yep. But, yeah, so... Yes, Arnold's setting up these traps. He's building a bow and arrow. It's just an awesome little montage.
It's great.
Of just him being badass.
But you're kind of switching types of movies again. It's really fascinating to watch. Anyway.
So they're, and this whole time, Arnold is covered in mud.
Yeah.
He's just smearing mud all over himself because he discovered that the predator can't see him if he's got the mud. So then it's time to spring his trap.
I love it. He climbs like a top of a tree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He makes a little torch for himself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just love how he just like yells in the jungle.
Yep.
It's just so primordial. But it's just such an interesting way to go about it. Like he gets, I love this because like you have this alien creature, which is kind of funny. Like the creatures by themselves, you don't know a whole lot about them. They are completely supported by their weaponry and their armor.
Yeah.
Right? In a lot of ways, you can say the same thing about Arnold and Dutch and all those men, right? And obviously, theirs is not good enough for this alien creature, right? So Arnold has to get primitive to fight it.
Yeah.
I love it. And so, he just bellows into the air. It's like, come and get me, motherfucker.
Mm-hmm. But so he has
he has his traps. He has his weapons. He's lured him in. He's trying to ambush him down, right?
Yeah, so he's using these traps not necessarily like if one of them kills the predator, great, but he's using them starting out to sort of throw the predator off his game.
Yes.
He's trying to get the predator scared.
Yeah. And he realizes like the predator can't see him, so he can do these things. He can move around just like the predator.
Yeah.
And doing it's like again, like you were saying, to scare him. It's like it's flipped now, right? Because he's able to like disable like the cloaking even further now, right? So the roles are reversed.
Yeah.
So and it's funny, like the one thing where like we're gonna see it later. It's like the predator itself technically is stronger than Arnold, which is saying something.
Yeah, because they actually do have a little bit of like hand to hand combat going on here.
Yeah.
During this, and Arnold just gets tossed around like a ragdoll.
But we're not there yet, right? So now you have, but essentially, the creature, the predator, gets so disoriented, right? He just starts firing off his plasma cannon wildly into the forest, just like they were shooting.
Just like they were shooting in the forest. Yep.
Right. Unfortunately, you finally get to the point where Arnold, or Dutch falls back into like that river, and he gets off like.
And the mud
obviously
gets
now the mud's
off,
right? So now you're kind of on that even playing field, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, this is where it changes, right? So like the predator's able to like kind of discover him, finds him again.
But the predator's camouflage isn't working right.
And the predator's like, okay, you know what? You're a worthy opponent. We'll actually go hand to hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he gets the upper hand, and I think Arnold's smart because like he realizes he still has traps.
Yep.
And he realizes why fight this thing hand to hand? I'm not going to win that fight.
No.
that understands that, and he's smart. Like he constructed these traps for a reason, for a purpose.
Yeah,
and he's going to lean into that if he has to.
Yep,
which he does.
So he gets by his big log trap sitting in the tree, and that's where the whole "do it now, do it now, kill me." That's where that comes in, to try to lure the predator toward him, and is walking across the ground right under this giant log. Arnold trips the trap, and that log.
Well, he sees another trap first, right? And he tries to get around it. Like he thinks, oh
yeah, that's right.
Because he's thinking like, oh, I wonder if this is a trap. Like he's just kind of like not doing anything.
Yeah.
Right. And so he avoids that one, and then he kind of gets closer, and then that's when Arnold trips the other one.
That's when Arnold trips the log trap, and this giant, it's like a tree trunk. It's not just a log; it's just a tree. No, it's a tree hanging from trees. But so he drops this thing on the predator, and like a much bigger version of the iron that falls on Marv's head in Home Alone.
Again, like I said, like as we're talking, I didn't even think about this watching the movie earlier. When we started talking about it, it's like, oh, yeah. Chris Columbus watched Predator. And like, I'm gonna have Macaulay Culkin do that. I guess technically John Hughes, maybe. John Hughes wrote the script, and Chris Columbus directed that.
So this tree falls on the predator, right on its chest, but it doesn't kill him.
No, it doesn't.
Its armor, I guess, is good enough to withstand a gigantic tree falling from the sky on it. But it sort of immobilizes it. It's on the ground. I mean, it's dying. It's not dead. It's dying. Well, it's sort of like injured.
It's not totally the same. Like he's got more capability.
Yeah,
but it's like Breakdown.
Yeah. It's like JT Walsh in Breakdown.
Granted, JT Walsh actually fell first in Twitch, and that's when they dropped. Spoiler alert for Breakdown. We love Breakdown.
Yeah, we're going to do that. Yeah, we're going to do that movie on here.
Sometime. Love the movie Breakdown. Oh, yeah. I love Breakdown. Yep. We will cover Breakdown.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
In which JT Walsh gets a fucking truck dropped on him.
But anyway. So the tree falls on the predator, and then Arnold goes down to chat.
To chat.
He goes on to chat with the predator. Like, hey, what's up? Good game.
How about the Bears? They're gonna beat the Eagles this year?
Almost got me. Better luck next time.
May I please kill you?
So he's down there. The predator takes off his mask. And that's when you get the line, "You are one ugly motherfucker."
And they just continue to chat. Yep. It's like,
I mean, you gotta hand it to Dutch. Maybe he's like, okay, so this guy, he put up a good fight. He's got none of his friends are around, to sit with him while he's dying. Somebody should sit with this guy while he's dying. So Dutch is going to be the bigger man, and he's going to go down there and he's going to sit with the predator until it dies. In case it has any, parting wisdom that he wants to instill on him.
A good point of wisdom is to understand who he is.
Yes.
It's like, what are you?
Mm-hmm.
And then the creature we discover is essentially an asshole teenager.
Yeah.
And just ask the same question back.
Yep. And then it reaches over to its little gauntlet and it pushes a couple buttons.
And it starts laughing.
And then it starts laughing. And these lights start blinking.
From earlier.
These lights start blinking on the gauntlet. And so it starts
4,
laughing.
8, 15, 16, really 23, 42.
A laugh.
4, 8.
Yeah. 4, 8, 15, 16, 23.
Yeah. That's actually 108.
4, 8,
it's actually
15,
108.
16, 23,
drop it down. And then you get the hieroglyphics. More like the hieroglyphics that are flipping when, anyway, that's lost.
That are the hieroglyphics for death. But yeah.
It takes them a while to realize that what's actually happening with the symbols.
Yeah, so these symbols start lighting up.
They're starting to disappear is when he realizes it.
And it turns out it's a countdown. And the Predator is laughing. It just turns into this maniacal laugh that does not fit the Predator at all.
Hey, his mask is off now.
Yeah.
He's just a douchey teenager.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So Arnold realizes what's going on after way too long and runs.
He runs.
And then there's a big explosion because it was a self-destruct that the Predator had in his armor.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which is, fine.
Yeah.
No. Which I get. Like, it's actually probably like a smart thing that Predator has that, because like maybe they have some other actual enemy on another planet.
Yeah.
Like an alien life form that they don't want getting that technology.
Yeah.
Can you imagine, like, the xenomorphs having cloaking technology like that? Not that they need it.
I mean, they have acid blood, so
they are a perfect killing machine, as they cover in Alien. We will be doing Alien.
Yes, we will be.
Alien is probably a top 10 favorite movie of mine, so we will be doing Alien.
We will be doing Alien one of these days. Don't know when yet, but we will be doing it.
Very different movie than this, but
yeah. I doubt we'll be doing any of the Alien versus Predator movies.
No.
But
I don't think we'll be doing the Predators movie with Adrian Brody either.
Yeah, I don't think so. I saw that one in the theater, and that's the only time I've ever seen it. And I really had no desire to watch it again.
I think it was in Kansas when we saw that.
Mm-hmm.
So in that time.
Yeah, I think it was. I think we saw it together, didn't we?
Yeah. Anyway, so he runs away, and he's barely able to get outside the blast radius of the explosion.
Yeah.
But he gets to the extraction point. It's dawn now. Mm-hmm. The helicopter comes in, and Anna's already safely on board.
Yep.
She waited for him. How nice.
Because she got to the chopper.
And if he had been traumatized, like, the two of them could just get it on in the back of the chopper.
They could. But, this is an Arnold action movie.
The movie ends on a sober note, actually, because, like, you can tell he's traumatized about what's happened, which is why he's not in Predator 2. He's suffering from PTSD, probably.
Yeah. And then...
So
then the chopper takes off and it's flying away from the area, and you get across the screen, you get text reading, "Congratulations, you've destroyed the vile Red Falcon and saved the universe. Consider yourself a hero."
No, nothing like that.
No, that's the end of Contra.
They just fly off.
Yeah, they just fly off.
And again, it's subversive to what you would expect from one of these movies. Like, he won. But what did he win?
Yes.
What did he really win?
He won, but he lost all his friends.
That's right.
I mean, he couldn't even salvage the plasma gun, the shoulder gun from the Predator.
Like, he could have taken a trophy, like a fucking plasma gun.
He could have taken a trophy, but no. The Predator had to be the stupid little arrogant teenager and, blow up all his cool stuff.
The least the Predator could have done is, as he started the countdown, was chuck the plasma gun away and see if he could get the plasma gun and run away in time.
Yeah.
That would be one last test.
Yep.
That would be a good test.
Yeah.
Can you get this plasma gun and run away at the same time?
Yep. Or he could have taken the bomb gauntlet off of the Predator and thrown it far away. Yeah. Maybe toward the group of guerillas that was closing in on their area.
What happened to them?
Location. Yeah.
Is there another Predator out there that's killing them?
Maybe. We
don't know. We do know there's one in Los Angeles like 3 years later.
Yep.
Multiple Predators, actually.
Yep.
Which is so weird because I remember that movie being on TV a bunch in the late 90s.
That movie was on TV a lot.
I would always come to the scene where Bill Paxton died. Bill Paxton died a lot in movies in the 90s.
Yes, he did.
Unless it was Twister. Well, before Twister. Prior to Twister. I should say Apollo 13. Apollo 13 is where it changed, where he didn't die. And then he died. Just randomly.
True Lies.
Himself.
True Lies was before Apollo 13, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, so he didn't die in True Lies.
There we go.
But
that's a good movie.
Yeah, it is. That's another one that we should do.
Back when James Cameron did everything great.
Mm-hmm. Back before Avatar.
Do CGI Dances with Wolves.
Yeah. CGI Fern Gully.
Anyhow. Predator. awesome movie because it's action. It's a slasher movie. It's sci-fi. It's satire. It's blows any of your expectations
so
out of the
many
water.
Things just mixed into one. It's just like all these things poured into a bowl and just stirred around. And
like John McTiernan just has
so great.
These ideas of how he wants to make a movie. And like Die Hard, for example, we'll talk about this when we do Die Hard. Die Hard is literally a Western movie.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Is what it is. And yeah, but then he does Hunt for Red October, which amazingly it's not just because it has Sean Connery, but like you would think when the lead role, you have Alec Baldwin, and then later it becomes Harrison Ford. Mm-hmm. You would think the Harrison Ford ones would be better than this one, than the Alec Baldwin one, but no.
Yeah.
Not that Patriot Games and Clear from Present Danger are bad movies, but Hunt for Red October is probably the finest of the Jack Ryan movies.
Yes.
And John McTiernan's a big part of it.
Yep.
And then you have Die Hard: The Vengeance, which is just like one of my favorite third movies of any movie
which
series.
Wasn't even originally supposed to be a Die Hard movie.
Mm-hmm.
But they were able to adapt it to be a Die Hard movie, and it was amazing.
But there is a McTiernan movie I've never seen, and I know it did not receive well. It was at the time of his height, his filmmaking, is Medicine Man.
Yes.
I never saw Medicine Man.
I never saw Medicine Man either.
I remember the TV spots that had Sean Connery.
Me too. Yeah, I never saw it.
With Lorraine Bracco, which is so interesting. Anyway, that was Predator.
That's Predator. So, anything else you want to say about it?
I don't think so.
I think we covered it pretty well.
Okay, I think we covered it well. We talked about how it had, obviously it's connected. It's very easy to situate Alien because of Alien versus Predator. But even before that, it had been easy to do it, right? The reason why they did that is because, it's funny, like Predator 2 was just kind of throwing in this Easter egg that became something bigger.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But it makes sense at that time just to kind of put that in because, they both have these efficient killing machine aliens, right?
Yeah.
And Aliens is a better movie than Predator, obviously.
Yes.
Predator 2. And then for both movies after that, it's mixed results, including the AVP movies. So, I don't know. It's probably one of the finest action movies of the 80s.
It's up there.
I would have totally expected rewatching this. And again, this is like my second time. So I should say really watching this, right? I didn't have a whole lot to really bring into it because I've seen bits and pieces of it. It's hard not to, I guess, but I was fully immersed in it.
Yeah.
And part of it's just because also again, the creature design helps sell all of it. And,
yeah. I mean, this
McTiernan does a great job of switching the vantage points of what's happening with the action.
Yeah.
As we talked about, at some point you just get, you don't know they don't know they're being tracked, but you do. And once they know they're being tracked, you're like them, where you're trying to figure out where this thing is. So it's, the whole thing is just well directed.
Yeah. Well directed, well acted. Just fantastic movie. Well worth a watch if you haven't seen it.
It's funny, it holds up well too, because initially you might not think that because it's talking about kind of some vague political issues but then again, they're vague. And it's really only exists to get them to the setting of the movie.
Yeah.
And once they get that out of the way, nothing else matters. A lot of the other some of those other action movies of the 80s are very much set within the political drama of that time.
Yes.
This is not concerned with that.
No, it's not.
And it actually makes the movie stand the test of time. So
yeah, and so if you watch the movie and then you want to participate in that kind of story, then dust off the old NES and pop in some Contra, and don't forget to put in the Konami code at the beginning so you can get 30 lives. And then you can go and kill some aliens in the jungle. But yeah. So before we go on to tell you what we are doing next,
we thought this would be appropriate.
We thought it would be appropriate. So today, the day that we are, the day that we were recording this episode,
legend has passed on.
Yes, by the time that this episode airs, I'm sure most of you will have heard about this. But yes, today we lost a legend. The legendary James Earl Jones has passed away.
The voice of Darth Vader. Not to mention Field of Dreams, Sandlot, Coming to America,
Dr. Strangelove.
The Yellow Pages voice.
This is CNN.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
And, then countless theater productions and.
Right. Well, the one that the theater production I never got to see because when it was originally on Broadway, was 1987 when Predator was out in the theaters. I read the play and then Denzel Washington reprised the role. Mm-hmm. It was August Wilson's Fences, which is one of my favorite plays I've ever read. And he was the main protagonist on Broadway when that was on Broadway back in the early 80s. He was. And he won the Tony Award for it, right? So I guess you could say technically he's an EGOT because they gave him an honorary Oscar at some point. So he only had one Oscar nomination in The Great White Hope back in 1970. Yes. So he actually did, I think, I don't know if it was a off-Broadway. I was looking briefly earlier today where he played the Morgan Freeman role in Driving Miss Daisy on something.
Yes, he did. He did
15 years ago.
Yeah. So something that Tony and I have always done over the years when, one of our favorite actors has died or just favorite celebrities, actor, comedian, whoever, just one of our favorite celebrities.
Could be a musician also.
Passed away. Yeah. We have been known to raise a glass.
Oh, The Lion King also.
Yes, Mufasa. Right. Mufasa and The Lion King.
We want to raise a glass to honor. We want to raise a glass
to.
It's a way of cheersing them and their life and
all the joy that they brought us over the years. So if you'd like to join us, if you're driving, then please don't right now. Wait till you get home.
Please don't get home. And then pause the podcast.
Pause the podcast. Wait till you get home, and then you can raise a glass with us because that's the joy of a podcast. You can pause it and play it whenever you want. So if you're driving, please do not raise a glass right now. Wait until you get home or to wherever you're going. Then you can if you want to. But if you're not driving, then raise a glass of, whatever beverage you would like. It can be alcoholic beverage, non-alcoholic beverage, whatever you want it to be. It can be water, whatever.
It's water. Do whatever it is. We're not going to, I don't want anyone that's out there that just doesn't want to touch alcohol, whatever reason it might be.
Yeah. To touch alcohol. Whatever beverage you would like.
We salute.
This is a whole, we're raising a toast to James Earl Jones.
We should have brought that up too, because he was in the John McTiernan movie that we just mentioned.
Yes, he was.
The Hunt for Red October.
Yep.
And then he was in the sequel, Patriot Games.
Yes, he was.
And he was on Arnold in Conan the Barbarian.
Yes, he was.
Yes,
he was.
And he just that baritone voice, that presence, and for me, it feel like he was ubiquitous in some ways, even though he didn't have a lot of major roles in the '90s. Just growing up, he was James Earl Jones. And
yes. So let's raise a glass. James Earl Jones. We salute you. We will never forget.
You gave us so many great memories.
Yes.
And
we'll never forget what you have done for our lives. Thank you.
Whew.
And so, now,
that was good.
Here's something, Tony. I'm going to pull an audible.
Okay.
We had a particular movie picked out for next week.
We did.
But I'm changing that.
That's fine.
I'm changing that. We can do that movie next. So 2 weeks from now, we can do that movie.
We're not in any particular schedule.
Yeah. So in honor of James Earl Jones, I would like to let's do a James Earl Jones movie next week.
All right. Which
one? The one in particular that I'm thinking of.
This is good because we talked about this pre-show that Carl Weathers, we did an episode, a movie when he died. We should do Rocky.
Yes, and so
we actually debated. We almost did Predator.
Yeah, we almost did Predator that time. We did
Rocky instead.
But the reason we didn't do Predator was because we didn't want to do a movie where Carl Weathers died as a tribute to Carl Weathers. But yeah, so as sort of a tribute to James Earl Jones, I would like to do next a movie that both of us loved growing up. And it is, when I hear James Earl Jones' name or hear his voice, this is the first non-Star Wars movie that pops in my head. It's one that we both love when we grew up watching over and over. The greatest baseball movie ever made, The Sandlot.
Yeah, great choice.
Let's do The Sandlot next time.
I think we should do The Sandlot. I love The Sandlot. Anyway, I'll get into it soon. I've seen this movie pretty recently, and I will watch it again. I will watch it again and again. And I have a lot of things to say about this movie.
Yeah.
And it's not just a baseball movie. It's actually really more than a baseball movie. It's not much of a baseball movie.
It is so much more than just a baseball movie.
It's a different movie than what a baseball movie is. But that's what baseball is. So it's actually a baseball movie.
Yes.
But we'll get into that.
Yeah. We'll get into that next week. So, yeah. Hope you enjoyed the episode on Predator.
Which, by the way, was actually a top 10 movie of the year in terms of box office.
Yeah.
So we kind of gone back from the small movie to a movie that was a box office hit.
Yep. So we will continue with the movie that we have originally planned for following Predator. We'll do that one after The Sandlot.
You have to watch next week's episode or listen to next week's episode to find out what that one is.
Yes.
That one does not have James Earl Jones.
It does not, but The Sandlot does. Sandlot has James Earl Jones in one of my favorite roles of his.
It is.
He was fantastic in that movie.
He was. He shows up at the end. It's great.
Yeah. But anyway, so dust off your baseball mitt.
Yes.
And
listen to your, watch a whole round of Rescue Me because Dennis Leary is also
in this movie. In a very
different
role than we're used to with him. But he's great. He's great, man.
Yeah. But he's not a firefighter. Well, maybe he is actually
He could be. We don't actually know what he does.
Because he goes away for most of this movie.
We don't actually know what he does.
We'll get into that.
But yeah. So, anyway, join us next time for The Sandlot.